Before getting started, upcoming public curbside comedy shows or shows with me in it? None. None at the moment. If you want to catch me, you can find me on social media right now. Connor underscore Kwiecień across social media. That is Connor underscore Kwiecień. Other than that, welcome to What's Up With Me. My name is Connor Kwiecień, and this is an autobiographical podcast about Connor Kwiecień. It's me, the comedian. Wow, my roommate's yelling downstairs. I'm taking an L in fantasy football this week, most likely. Yeah. Welcome to What's Up With Me. Things have been super slow given pandemic. We're gonna be talking about next moves in this episode. But before that, we'll take questions, and before that, I'll give an update. I have COVID. I tested positive on Friday. I got my results back last Monday, so a week from when this episode's coming out. I had my first symptoms. Technically, I had them Sunday night. And yeah, I didn't do anything. I live with a number of roommates, and a roommate got it, and because I stayed in the house, I ended up getting it one way or another. Thankfully, there had been no shows previously. I really hadn't been in touch with people. The one or two people that I had been in touch with on outdoor settings, I let them know and contact traced. But 7 days in with symptoms now, I feel pretty much like 100%. A part of me is wondering now, because I've been in my room so much, are my symptoms due to me staying in my room or due to COVID? But from the very beginning, I treated this thing like it was serious. When I got symptoms, drank a lot of water, got a lot of sleep. I've been averaging like 10 plus hours a night, and had a fever for a little bit, some night sweats. But other than that, I've been in really good health. What is it? CDC guidelines. Let's go to what they say. That's what we're following, trusting the science with everything. Plan is to follow what it says. I think or know I had COVID-19 symptoms, which I do. And you can be around others after 10 days since symptoms first appeared, and 24 hours with no fever without the use of fever-reducing medications, and other symptoms of COVID-19 are improving. With a little asterisk, and the asterisk says loss of taste and smell may persist for weeks or months after recovery and need not delay the end of isolation. So we're closing in on 10 days. I don't have a fever. Obviously, this thing can go up and down, so I'm trying to stay good. Stay on top of everything with a lot of fluids. And then I plan on taking a few extra days in isolation just to make sure I'm not spreading anything. And then, of course, when I go back out in public, wearing a mask, doing all that stuff. But I really have no sense of smell. I have, let me see, where is it? This is apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar. I got it here. It's good for drinking sometimes, good for different things. It's a nice toner at times. I haven't used it like that for a while, but here's a full-on whiff of apple cider vinegar. Nothing. I can't smell a thing. Taste. I have equally limited taste, but I'm still hungry. And I've actually found it a lot easier to eat well. Like my body, I don't have cravings for certain things because I can't really taste them. It's more just like sustenance. So yeah, I have COVID. I'm doing what I should be doing. And I feel pretty good overall, and I'm thankful that as far as I know, not spread it to a single person. So this COVID, wherever it got to me, should end here. Yeah. Yep. COVID. Yikes. Take care of yourself. Be smart. Like I said, didn't even leave my house, and I got it. So you never know. Be extra careful, extra careful, especially with the holidays coming up. Um, Questions. Yeah, I got one question. It was 2 weeks ago, or I guess it was almost a month ago that I got the question. And it was from Daniel Butler, who's a very funny comedian in the New Hampshire scene. I think he's moving to New York. Um, but he asked me, did I ever think about booking Alex Williams on a curbside comedy show? And Alex Williams is another comedian from New Hampshire, very funny. Alex was really the first person to welcome me into the New Hampshire scene. I tend to stick to myself. I tend to do my own thing. I was at a mic one night and I was just writing in my notebook. He's like, "You got to put that notebook away. Come on, let's you know be a part of this whole thing." And I had been in Florida before that, and so just kind of stuck to myself there. So it was really nice that he was very welcoming into the New Hampshire scene. Um, he's very funny. He's so funny. He's like he can. He's one of the most creative people in that I've seen. New York, New Hampshire, otherwise. Um, the question is though, do we think about booking him? And I'll extend the question to: do we think about booking anyone else for curbside comedy? And that was the question that Trevor and I asked ourselves right away. And initially, we thought, yes, we're going to bring more people in the future. And then we thought, no, it's too complicated because we're working with two schedules, and then we're trying to limit exposure for ourselves and for other people. And so we just said flat out that we were not going to invite other people to curbside comedy for the time being. And this was really early on. This is probably like our second or third show we have this conversation. This was back in May, and we just said we're not going to do that. And what that led to was the fact that curbside comedy developed into a two-person show, 3-act two-person show. And so it wasn't really a business. It was that show itself. And that's kind of how we marketed it too. It was like, hey, you can get Trevor and Connor and we're coming with curbside comedy. So we didn't really think about bringing anyone else in. Alex would have been at the top of my list. He was one of those people like closer to when I thought about inviting New Hampshire people. There's a few other people like Reed Chuda, we've met up a few times in New York. Dan was also on that list. But we just kept things simple at the beginning. But so I guess that's the answer. No, we didn't think about it outside of the first couple shows when we just said we're not going to bring in anyone for the time being. We ended up bringing one comedian into a public show, and that's because we were given a larger time slot than we normally do. It's normally an hour-long show, and then we had a 90-minute slot that we wanted to fill. And Trevor wanted to bring in a comedian that he knew, Steve Bjork, and that's the only time we brought someone in, and it was a special circumstance where we were gifted this 90-minute slot, and we were like, "Uh-oh, what do we do now?" Um, yeah, but things are changing. Right, the last time I did What's Up With Me, I was saying, kind of teasing like, hopefully by next episode, a lot of stuff's gonna be figured out. Obviously, having COVID, things are very different. Got to be extra secure, making sure I'm not putting anyone else at risk for a few extra days. So it slowed my plans, but I will be signing a lease after this comes out to move to Tampa, Florida. I'm moving to Tampa, Florida because I want to bring the business, not the show of curbside comedy that wasn't bringing other people, but the business of curbside comedy to Tampa, Florida. That was a decision that was actually made a really long time ago in my head, but I didn't put it into execution until more recently. I didn't want to talk about it until things came together because there's so many moving pieces, and I'm the type of person who's going to say something and it doesn't really matter if it happens. I'm going to try and will it into existence over here, and I don't really care. I do care, but sometimes caring is enough to make it a reality. But now ducks are in a row. The only question mark is the timeline now with COVID. But moving down there, I've been doing a ton of work about around the business of curbside comedy and what it actually looks like, because um I believe I've said it as long as this podcast has been around. I think curbside comedy is so much more than what it has been, but there's a lot of moving pieces that need to be figured out. And obviously, one of the pieces is where it'll be in the winter, because you can't do outdoor, safe, social distance shows. In the winter in the Northeast, it's just not a thing. People aren't going to sit outside for an hour when it's 35 degrees out or there's snow on the ground. Like the window's so small. Um, so now that part where is figured out. And the how piece is coming together quite nicely. I've done a lot of work with branding, and I cannot. I had some incredible people. Jack Swimer, who is a good friend from high school. We actually went to elementary school together, but we ran together in high school, and that's where I got to know him the most. He's a brilliant graphic designer, and he offered to make a logo. If any of you follow me on social media, you can see that I tried to make a logo, and it's nothing compared to what Jack can do. And I'll put it right here if you're watching on YouTube. It's up there. You can check it out. And with that logo, with the branding, I got in touch with another friend. Her name's Amber Schottke, who's a web designer and a graphic designer, and I had her help me put together a website that'll allow people to go to curbsidecomedy.org and then just learn all about the business of curbside comedy and book right there in a really convenient way. It's also now building, because like the how, the where, the how, and then you got to have the why piece. Why should people be booking it? I'm actually trying to work closer with charities. I've been working a lot with numbers recently behind curbside comedy, and I want to make sure when these shows get booked, there's always enough to support comedians, and there's always enough to give back to the community. And so that number, like in theory, I want our interaction to with the community to be a lot more. So to kind of take a step back, I want curbside comedy moving forward to answer to circle back to the question, to be able to incorporate other comedians. It's kind of, you can think of it as kind of a booking agency and a brand within itself that specialize in a really niche market of delivering comedy shows, ideally in backyards, ideally to small audiences, not trying to, if anything, trying to encourage other people to be like, hey, seeing live stand-up comedy is a whole lot of fun. Here's a little bite of what comedy can be if you go and watch it in your larger urban area. But right now, just have this little bite-sized sample brought right to you. So, yeah. Oh, geez, losing my train of thought. I can feel COVID, a little bit of tiredness coming in. So if we're able to bring in other people now, hopefully we're bringing in more people. I'm working on the logistics around how to do that, because I want everyone just to feel safe, and I don't want someone to also run off with this idea afterwards too. But and like I've taken down the numbers, and I want to, as we bring in other comedians, whether it's Trevor and I, myself as a solo show, or another comedian who's in the area, I want those comedians to be able to do a show and make a living wage. And that means I think the number is $115 a show is the target. Obviously, there's a lot of logistics around that. Curbside comedy has been known to do a pay what you can afford model for shows. So obviously, coming up with $115 for two comedians can look a little different if you make a lot of money or if you make a little money. But if you take, I think it's 115. If we give a living wage to a person doing a show, and in theory, based off of the numbers of the old model of curbside comedy with everything, should still be able to give back a decent percentage of money um to a charity. And then so one, you know, comedians making some money, and then two, the consumer can feel good about giving some money to a charity. But I want it to be even more specialized. I want it to the consumer to be able to go through and go, oh, this charity's in my neighborhood, in my community. I know someone who's affected by X, Y, or Z. I actually want to suggest that the money from this show goes to this charity. And now, curbside comedy is it's not a mechanism. It's not a charity donation. It's not what we're doing. We're delivering live stand-up comedy. That's funny. That's what we're doing. It just so happens that the other benefit of giving and seeing these shows is supporting the community. And that, to me, only makes sense for a business. It makes sense because the way curbside comedy works is the community hears about curbside comedy and books a show, and then the comedian only gets paid because of the community, and the comedian only gets to do what they love because they're getting paid. Like it kind of works that way. And I guess technically the comedian doesn't need to do what they love to get paid, but in order to make a living, in order to have a life in something, you need to make a living. So what you actually do, and why it makes sense to me to always be giving to charity, is if you flip that model, if you flip it around, you go, okay, well, the comedian was only able to do what he loves to perform because of the community. If the comedian's doing what he loved, is doing what he loves, and because he's doing what he loves, gets paid, well, where's that last piece? That last piece of the three, the community piece, and that's where the charity comes in. And so kind of building off of that model, that structure, the goal is to gain a volume of bookings. The business model itself for a comedian to really earn a living wage doing this is based off volume. How many shows can you do in a month? And the way to get to that certain volume is the thing that I'm working on right now. And I probably won't ever talk too much about that because that's kind of how the business will work. But in theory, as demand grows for this type of comedy, this niche backyard shows, the supply will be greater and we'll be able to get more and more comedians involved. Exactly how that'll happen is going to be a little bit of a question mark, but hopefully with that response, you can see how curbside comedy went from this thing where Trevor and I said we're not going to invite other comedians in at the moment because we're a show. This is our show. This is how we do things. And now curbside comedy is becoming this business of how comedy's delivered directly to people and what kind of format these shows will be and kind of where the money goes. And then hopefully as it all gets smoothed out, it'll be the consumers will know that this institution, this type of thing exists, and it'll continue to get faster and faster, more velocity of bookings. And then there's a whole lot of room for comedians who are hilarious, like Alex, like Dan, like Reed, to make some money doing what they love. Yeah. So, guess what I'm trying to say is if you live in Tampa, book a curbside comedy show. Head to curbsidecomedy.org to book a curbside comedy show. If anyone's made it to this point in the video, which is like, hey, friends and family, you can also find curbside comedy on Facebook and Instagram now. Just check out curbside comedy. It's its own thing. And then there's going to be more promo stuff coming out with it. Yeah. All right, what's up with me other than having COVID, getting a little distracted in the beginning and giving away a decent number of business secrets? Because in theory, like, if more people do this, I mean, it's obviously a business I'm developing and I feel passionate, I feel protective of it, but like if it allows me and other people to perform more, and that's the goal moving forward, if it works and more people are doing it, in theory, it should raise all ships. As like Maxim Allen, my good friend in New York, says, he believes that in the world of stand-up comedy, a rising tide raises all ships. I believe that too, and so hopefully that's what we'll see. What's up with me though? I think I finished Harry Potter and another book since the last time I was on. I've read Fight Club. I'm gonna start. Yeah, I read Fight Club. It was really good. It's actually way darker, way more graphic and sexual than the movie. But it's, for anyone who hasn't read it, definitely worth reading. It's not too long of a read. I'm on to Catcher in the Rye now, trying to read a whole lot more because I'm just like stuck in my room. Other than that, like working on graphics, trying to write. I listen to more Mitch Hedberg. I'm thinking about doing something called Special of the Week, where I just watch a special 7 times, once a day for a full week, and see what I can learn from it. Using Rolling Stone's top 25 specials of all times. That's what I'm thinking about doing. Trying to learn a lot because I just want to be a funny comedian and get paid to do what I love, make a living doing what I love. It's not so much about the money, but being able to live off of it. That's what I want, and that's what I'm trying to build. Other than that, that's it. Take care of yourself. You don't know how COVID may or may not impact you. So take care of yourself. Take care of the ones you love. If you get it, and hopefully it's like mine, not too bad. Thank you also to everyone who sent messages, who knows that I have COVID, saying that they hope I'm doing well, and I am. Also, mustache. Okay. Head to curbsidecomedy.org if you live in Tampa to book a show. Connect with me at Connor_Kvietchen on social media. Ask yourself what's up with you more than I have recently. Take care of yourself mentally, physically. Peace.